Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most 90s feeling horror films of all time, and that is, of course, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're looking at I Know What You Did Last Summer, released in 1997. So with the new film underway, I decided to go ahead and revisit the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise, and I wanted to do a little review here on the channel. Now, this one was one of those films that I used to watch all the time. I actually had this on VHS, I believe. One of those things where I rented a movie and just didn't return it. This is one of those films that I really enjoyed as a kid, and I was genuinely curious to see how I felt about it now as an adult, because it's been a very long time since I've seen this film. So I was looking forward to doing this little mini review. I knew that I liked this one and the second one, and I'm not looking forward to talking about the third one, but you know, we'll get there when we get there. So let's go ahead and not waste any further time and go ahead and get into the review. So for this film, I'm going to be breaking it down into three categories: the positives, the negatives, and the gray area. Let you know what I liked about this film, what I didn't like about this film, and some things that I'm a little bit indifferent on. And when we're done with that, I'm going to talk about my favorite scene in this film and tell you exactly why it is my favorite scene. When all that is said and done, we are going to score this film out of 10 and end the video. But here on The Night Shift, we always start things off on the bright side with So a group of 20-something-year-old teenagers have just graduated and are celebrating their next chapter of life. They go out and get drunk on a beach and are just having a good old time. After they're done drinking on the beach, they decide to go ahead and make the dumb decision to get behind a wheel and drive. And whilst under the influence, drinking and driving, they run over a person, a fella, a little guy, a dude. And they attempt to get away with this would-be murder by dumping the body in the bay. So they dump this body in the bay and they get away with it. End of story. Everybody lives happily ever after. Oh, I'm just kidding. A year later, they get ominous notes saying, "I know what you did last summer," yeah? See what they did there? It's the name of the movie. And they start getting harassed and picked off one at a time by a fisherman with a hook. Pretty solid story for the most part. I enjoyed it as a kid. That's the only bit that I understood as a kid. We'll get to some of the issues I have with the story. We'll get there in a little bit. But the story itself is pretty solid. It's simple until it's not. And I had a pretty good time with it, especially now as an adult where I understand things a little bit more. Just a little bit more, though. I'm still kind of fucking dumb. All right, moving right along into our next positive. We have... In this film, we have Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Phillippe. Now, if only they would have added, like, Jessica Biel and James Van Der Beek, you would have hit, like, the infinity gauntlet of the ultimate 90s movie. Everybody in this film was, like, big shots in the 90s. These guys were everywhere. And everybody does a solid job. I think the weakest actor in this film is probably Freddie Prinze Jr., if I'm gonna be honest. Like, they kind of tried to make him out to be a red herring. And I think because he's supposed to cast, you know, suspicion and doubt on his character, it really kind of fucked with his acting chops. His performance was hindered because of that little red herring thing. So, like, I wish they wouldn't have gone that angle with it. But overall, everybody does an extremely solid job. And, you know, I like them. I like everybody in this movie because, you know, 90s. I am a child of the 90s. I love everything 90s, so fucking sue me. I don't give a shit. And, you know, honestly, with that being said, I think that's going to push us into my third and final positive of this film, which is... This is one of those films that fills me with a large amount of nostalgia. Like, whenever I watched this the other day, I just was hit with an immediate wave of nostalgia. Not a lot of horror movies do that for me. Not a whole lot of movies do that for me in general. But whenever I put this on, like, I just got a wave of nostalgia come over me. Like, I remember my old yellow house with... You know, I remember how it smelled. I remember, you know, my little brother playing in the corner with his toys and my mom, you know, cooking in the other room. And I got hit with a wave of, like, nostalgic feelings because that was a good time in life. And this movie reminds me of a better time in life because life right now You know what I mean? Like I said in the intro, this is like one of the most 90s feeling horror movies of all time. This film feels like a snapshot of the 90s. Like, this is peak 90s in any single given horror movie. Scream 1 feels 90s because, I mean, obviously it's a movie from the 90s. And, Scream 2, a bunch of other horror movies, they feel like 90s movies, but I feel like this one truly captures the 90s in one film, if that makes any sense. Honestly, it could be me being just a nostalgic little bitch about it, but like, I don't know, this movie just like made me feel like I was in the 90s again. Like, it was a good time. And this most recent watch really just it hit something home for me that I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time rewatching it, and I'm very happy to say that, because like again, this is one of those films that like I was kind of nervous going back into watching this, because my tastes have changed in movies that I enjoyed, I no longer enjoy, and it's a fucking shame. But like, this one, it holds up for me. I think a lot of that is due to the nostalgia and the feeling it gives me inside watching it, because fuck, dude. I haven't had a movie take me back like that in some time. So like, I definitely had, this has nothing to do with the movie itself, other than what this movie made me feel. And, so that definitely had to go on the positives. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next segment, which is not good enough to be a positive, but not bad enough to be a negative. It's somewhere in the middle. It is the kills are just okay in this film. Like, there's some that are really cool and some that leave a lot to be desired. Like, we get one really graphic kill at the beginning with the hook underneath the chin. That one was fucking sick. Then you have other stuff like just seeing a hook going down and hearing and some where you don't even see anything at all other than just, blood hitting a window, or you get the top-down view of a murder. And where normally I would be fine with that, like if it was just that, but we did have a very brutal kill in the beginning, and your first kill kind of sets the tone for the rest of the film. And that first kill was actually added in reshoots of this film, because they felt that the kills were a little too tame, which I would have been fine with if that was it. If it was just the 2-3 kills in this film, I would have been fine with. I'm perfectly fine with theater of the mind kills. One of my favorite films of all time is Halloween from 1978, and a lot of that is just perceived gore. And same with the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's not a whole lot of gore going on. There's not too much violence shown on the camera, but you do think you see more than you actually do. So I'm perfectly fine with theater of the mind kills if that's all you're doing. But I do feel like adding that extra, kill in the beginning with the hook to the underneath the chin, I think that was a little bit of a hindrance, because, this movie is not that violent, and I think setting the tone with a big brutal kill at the very beginning and then not doing fuck all else outside of that is, it ends up leaving you with wanting more. So I think you either got to be ultra violent or theater of the mind violence. You can't do both. I don't, at least not for me. It doesn't work for me. Yeah, so like the kills aren't bad, but they're just not as good as the hook under the chin. So yeah, that just had to land somewhere in the middle here in the gray area. It's just it is what it is. Now, moving right along in the gray area, we have so the fisherman concept is cool. I don't dislike the outfit, but I feel like they needed to do something just a little bit more. Like, I feel like the outfit was lacking a little bit. It doesn't seem good enough to be like a horror icon, if that makes any sense. Like, it feels like it's missing something, and I wish I knew what that was so I could tell you guys, like, like, 'cause like a mask I don't think would work for this type of movie. And yeah, I just, because like a mask in a movie like this, it doesn't make sense, but something, like we need something a little bit more. And I guess that's part of the charm, because, this is a fishing town, and, so it could be anybody, like, which is what they were going for, but we needed just a little something extra. It needed a little extra spice, a little sprinkle of something extra. And again, like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I'm just sort of about it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like The Fisherman is just an okay slasher. It's not anything to write home about, but it's not something to hate on either. It's not worth hating on, but it just, I don't know. It needs something more, and that's how I feel. Like, if you could change anything about The Fisherman, what would it be? Like, sound off in the comments below. And just like that, we are out of things to talk about in the gray area. So now we move on to the not so bright side of things with So the killer reveal leaves a little bit to be desired. So there's a whole convoluted like subplot in this movie that didn't need to be as confusing as they made it out to be. Circle it back around to the positives, where I said, for the most part, the story is pretty good. Well, here in the negatives, we have a couple different subplots going on that make this film confusing as fuck. Like, I didn't understand it as a kid, and even now as an adult with a fully formed brain, I still like kind of had a little trouble piecing everything together. I don't know, the whole subplot was just like all the little subplots and misdirection, I think either didn't work, wasn't explained enough, or it worked too well, because like by the end of it, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, it's not like convoluted how like the Saw films are. Those are all very convoluted, but they have a smart way of going about it. This one is very convoluted and doesn't really do much in the way of explaining fuck all. I'm not somebody that needs shit spelled out for him, but like the way they went about the killer reveal, it feels clunky and hard to follow in this one. It just feels convoluted for the sake of being convoluted and trying to seem like they got one over on you, but it's very hard to follow, and it's very confusing for no reason. So I didn't like the killer reveal simply for that alone. So of course it had to make it here on the negatives list, but I'm happy to report that is the only thing that I have on the negatives list. So now we move on to the next segment of the video, which is so my favorite scene in this is when Ryan Phillippe's character Barry gets killed, and I just like the idea that somebody knows that he is being murdered and then starts freaking out and panicking, and it gets the crowd in an uproar, and they're trying to calm her down, and she's trying to get him some help, and just that whole scenario seems fucking terrifying. Like that would fucking suck. Like, if you're watching some shit go down, you're seeing it happen, you know what's going on, and nobody else is like concerned about it, and they're all kind of holding you back from trying to help. I think that is genuine nightmare fuel. Like, that would be something that would fuck me up. Like, that whole concept like freaks me the fuck out. That would suck. That would genuinely suck, especially if it's somebody that you cared about and somebody that you loved, and there was nothing you could do to help that person because everybody around you is a bunch of fucking idiots. Yeah, that scene always stuck with me, and that's something, like, even as a kid, that stuck with me. Just all like, what would you do? Like, what could you do? Like, is there anything she could have done differently? That whole situation just feels like it would be a nightmare scenario. So the scenario itself is mainly why why that is my favorite scene, and at that end, it's stuck with me all these years. But let's go ahead and score this bad boy. So whenever it comes to I Know What You Did Last Summer, I'm going to give this film a solid 7 out of 10. I enjoy this film. It still holds up for the most part. It's very nostalgic, and there's a couple things that could be tweaked. Overall, I still very much enjoy this film, and I would be happy to watch it again. It's one that I can breathe easy because that movie still holds up in my mind. If you completely disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. Sound off with your own mini review in the comments below. I look forward to reading them. So that's just about gonna do it for me. If you like the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate, I really will. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends.